Chaos is the result of massive change that overcomes us and changes our life suddenly and unexpectedly from something that we know and are comfortable with and is familiar to us to something that we no longer recognize. We wake up in the morning and we don't have our bearings anymore. We don't know what we're supposed to do, how we're supposed to move forward. Our lives become paralyzed by this chaos. And it all starts with change. And change affects us all. You're either going through it now, you've recently come through it, or it's coming for you soon. The more you resist it, the more difficult it becomes. Ironically, our bodies resist change through a process called homeostasis. So at the cellular level, your body resists change. Psychologically and emotionally, I think that we also have that same programming. And ironically, that resisting of the change results in chronic or even acute stress, which can literally kill you. So getting to the change and managing it before it becomes chaos and turns into the stress-ridden event that causes you to lose your bearings and become disoriented in your own life, it's critical to have a process that you can use to smooth out the bumpy parts of this. Now, there's no way to make it completely painless because obviously there's just no way to do it. But you can make it more pain-free, more easy to adapt to. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. In retrospect, I've got to consider myself pretty lucky. Although, when I was going through it, I didn't feel very lucky at all. So starting in 2016, and for the next 3 years, I went through many of the biggest changes that can affect a person. Started off as I quit my job under duress. It was not something that I necessarily wanted to do in that moment, but it turned out okay in the long run. But in that moment, it was extremely stressful because I had no idea how I was going to make a living. And I had a big mortgage and kids and the whole 9 yards to support. So we had to sell our house, which is another big change. A year later, 2017, we sold our house and we were fortunate enough to get out from underneath it with just enough money to pay off the mortgage and have enough money to put down for a rental that we got a couple neighborhoods away. So we moved. Big event. And then the third one was I started a new business, which I knew very little about. I mean, I had been training myself for 20 years, but I didn't know anything about training other people. So figuring that out became a stressful thing. Exciting, but stressful nevertheless. And then in 2019, my wife left. Another huge stressful event. And later on in 2019, I received notice that my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, something that she had been dreading her whole life. So from 2016 to 2019, I had a lot of the significant stressful events, the changes that occur that cause people to start to lose grasp of their reality and not understand which end is up and how they're going to move forward in their life. And I was able to do it through a process that I want to share with you, because I think that if you're going through any one or even all of these things or even things that are even worse, having a process that you can use to guide yourself and sort of lessen the turmoil that you're experiencing in that moment just makes everything so much easier. And recently I've started talking to a lot of the viewers on this channel in my coaching, which if you're interested, you can sign up for at my website, which is johnsgriffin.com. And it's really interesting to hear how familiar their words are when I hear them. They're telling me the same kinds of emotional turmoil and difficulties and stress that they're going through that I went through just a few years ago. So it's really comforting to know that my experience wasn't unique and it's likely that the experience you're going through isn't that unique either. However, it feels very foreign and alien to you in this moment. It's just part of life, you know? Like I said, you're either already been through it, you're going through it, or it's about to happen to you. And the sooner you learn to be able to adapt to these significant changes, the better. Something I did notice, that I did not experience a ton of change, at least not negative change, for a very long time. I was married for 21 years, and for the vast majority of that, even though there were some little things that happened, and certainly gradual sort of chronic changes that occurred, say in my marriage, for example, but we lived in that same house for, I don't know, 15, 16 years. I had the same job for 25 years. My lifestyle had been pretty much the same through that entire time period. And I suspect that time of static, not change, kind of led up to this massive change that happened all at once. And that's just my thought about it, that like change happens to all of us. And the more you put it off, and I think I was putting off a lot of these changes for fear of what they would mean to me and how they would disrupt my life, eventually life's gonna force you into it. Life's gonna give you a kick in the ass, and it's gonna happen. So if you've got an inkling that maybe you need to change, maybe you need to change. So when life starts feeding you a lot of crap, and you're eating it with a spoon, it can be tough. It can be very, very tough. These kinds of tragedies that happen to us on an individual basis can do one of two things. They can either lead you into a path of self-destructive behavior, where you start with the negative self-talk, with maybe substance abuse, maybe acting out in irrational ways, letting anger and hate sort of consume you. Or you can see it as an opportunity to develop your inner strength. And I think that's what most people don't understand, because they're so focused in on what's happening right this minute, they don't have the ability to step back from it a little and see the bigger picture and understand that this is just one more chapter in their life, and it will pass. Because it's so acutely painful in the moment that we don't have the ability to step back and take a breath and say, all right, so this is happening. How do I find acceptance in this moment? I just need to let go of my preconceived ideas about the way things are supposed to be and be open to the possibility that something else will be better. That is probably the most difficult transition right there, is just releasing your grip on your old reality and just accepting that it's going to be different and knowing that it could be better than what it was before. Because in all of the changes that I went through, and they were all very, very difficult, they all had extremely powerful benefits to me. Getting rid of that job made me feel so much better. It was like dropping a 100-pound weight, you know? It was like, oh, thank God I don't gotta carry that shit around anymore. Felt so much better. It was such a relief. Now, the difficulty of figuring out how I was gonna earn a living, that was a new thing, but that just opened up more opportunities. I just had to get creative. I just think, what do I love doing? What would I like to do in a perfect world? What would I want to do if I could do anything in the world? What would I do? Being a personal trainer and a health coach, that was it. That was absolutely it. And I sort of knew that in the back of my mind the whole time, but I was always afraid to take that step for fear that I would fail and that it would be impactful on my family and everything else. Well, quitting that job removed that fear, and it turned it into an opportunity. Leaving that house, which I had a lot of attachment to, it was a beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, and I loved my neighbors, and it was a status symbol to me because it was a big, cool house. And I just knew that we were gonna live there for the rest of our lives. Like, I had just had that in my head. And it was very, very painful for me to let go of that. And it made it very clear to me how fucked up my attachments were to things. It was like, why do you care about this house? What does a house do for you? It provides you a shelter, it provides you with a place for your family to get together, you know, like a warm place to sleep, a warm place to shit. That's what it gives you. I can find another place that meets all of those standards. Now, granted, it won't have the same status that this house does, but I will still be fine. And once I released that attachment from that statusy thing, it was such a relief. It was like, oh my God, I don't have to be that anymore. And you know, the same thing was true with my job, in that I had a title And with that title came responsibility, and I had to sort of be something in that title as being senior vice president in charge of this and that and other things. It was such a game, such a role, such a charade. You know what I mean? It was just such bullshit. It wasn't me. It was just who I was pretending to be at that time. Just like owning that big house in that cool neighborhood with all those fancy neighbors, it wasn't who I was. It was just who I was pretending to be at that time. And once I let go of that need to pretend to be that and accepted that I could achieve the same basic outcomes on my own in a more authentic way, it was an opportunity. It was like, okay, now what do you want to do? So you've wiped away that old life. What are you going to do with it now? And the same thing happened when my wife left. It wasn't like, I mean, initially, sure, there's a lot of pain and trying to figure out how this is going to work. What's my life going to look like next? What do I get? How do I fill this void in my life? Even though our marriage sucked, we had a decent friendship. It wasn't like I hated her. It wasn't like we were fighting all the time. It was just a vanilla kind of dead marriage, but we were still decent friends. We still got along. And not only that, but just like with a lot of other guys, I'd lost contact with a lot of my old guy friends. So when she left, it was like, well, who am I going to hang out with? Who am I going to go out with? What am I going to do? How do I operate in society now as a single man? And yeah, that was a great opportunity. Oh my God. And like I said, just like with the job, when she left, it was like, oh, I dropped another 100 pounds. It's like, I am just losing weight so fast, it's unreal. I should use this with my clients. And honest to God, I do. Because it's these roles that we take on that weigh so much on us are inauthentic, and oftentimes they're way past due for change. And when that change comes, it comes all at once. And it can be very disorienting. But if you can just accept the idea that this old way of doing things is ending, and there's nothing you can do about it, it's just ending, and that you're going to go through this transition, and that there is something better at the end of it for you, it at least allows you to let go of the pain associated with that, whatever that was. You no longer, you have to do this, you just have to no longer ruminate on it, whatever it was. And I'm not just talking about these kinds of changes. I know that a lot of people go through different kinds of betrayals or other kinds of loss, the loss of a loved one. All of that stuff is just part of life, and you just have to adapt to it by releasing your grip on what you think things are supposed to be, on the way you think things are supposed to be. It's that grip that you have, that attachment to the way things were, that causes you so much pain and suffering. Because the pain of the event comes and goes. The suffering from the event goes on and on and on. It's the suffering that'll kill you, because it just has you reliving that event continuously. And your body reacts with stress hormones, and that stress causes illness, and that illness will eventually kill you. So if you're going through or have gone through something like this, the sooner you can get it out of your head and get into that state of acceptance that that's just the way that is, the sooner you're going to be able to move on to the next thing. And oftentimes the next thing is a lot better than what you're ever going to expect, and probably a lot better than what you had before. So the first step in this transition is letting go and accepting what is. As soon as you can do that, you're going to get on the right track. So step one, identify the attachments, letting go of your preconceived ideas, accepting that this change is happening. The next step is getting reestablished, reestablishing your life in this new world, whatever it may be. If it means that you're physically moving, it means that you're going to have to find a new place to live, that you're going to have to create a new lifestyle for you. It may mean finding a physical domicile. It may mean buying furniture. It may mean buying new clothes. It may mean starting a new job. It may mean finding a new partner. All those things are the process of reestablishing. The partner thing I might leave out of that, actually, at this stage. I probably wouldn't go that far. But all those other things, getting your emotions and your physical life reestablished in this new world and how it works, and creating a pattern for yourself so that you have a new set of habits, in terms of the rhythm of your life. finding that new level of comfort. So reestablishing comfort in this new organization or this new world that you're living in. Very, very important. Because once you can establish that comfort, then you can kind of clear your head and really start to move on to the next step. But in this moment, the primary thing is psychologically and physically and emotionally getting reestablished in your new world. So the next phase is when the fun really begins to start. The next phase is creating a vision for what your new life is going to look like. So if you have wiped the slate clean like I did on so many different areas of my life, it kind of leaves this empty space and you've got to be able to fill it. And here's where, like I said, the fun really, really begins, because you can start using your imagination and you start going inside and trying to figure out what it is you actually want for your life. Because you're no longer tied into or locked down or walled in by that old life. That old life is gone. And even if it was a tragedy and it's something that was difficult for you to occur, to go through and to have that experience, especially like it was a loss of a loved one, and I know how hard that can be. Nevertheless, your life moves on, and you've got to make some choices about how that life is going to go. And what's happened in the past can't be undone, it's just done. So just close the chapter, close the book, move on to the next chapter, and start writing, start thinking. What do you want? What does this new part of your life look like? Who is the person you're going to be? What are the characteristics that you haven't really had a chance to express in your old life that now you want to have a chance to express? What are the things that you enjoy doing that you've never had a really chance to take advantage of? What are things you've always been curious about? What are your interests? Now is the time to find them, express them, make them a part of your life. You will no longer have an excuse. For a lot of people, that's scary, because the idea that they have a free hand to write their own story is a responsibility that a lot of people struggle with. And it's normal. I think it's normal, because I think we, in a way, create the barriers in our lives to keep us locked down in a pattern or in a role that we can comply with. It brings us in alignment with what the expectations for us are in our lives. And as long as we're meeting or exceeding those expectations set by other people, we're good, we're doing well. Well, you're no longer locked down by that anymore. Those expectations are all on you now. You're the one who is going to be doing the evaluation at the end of the day. So whether you meet or exceed expectations is based on your performance and how does it feel to you in the moment. What is your life like? What do you want it to be like? You're the only one who can do it. So now's the time to get started. So part 3 is create a vision for your life. All right, so step 4 is creating practices that bring you in alignment with what you want for yourself. And when I say creating practices, I mean building habits. If you're human, you need to be healthy. And so you've got to eat healthy and you've got to exercise. Because if you don't maintain your body, then everything else goes to shit. Plus, the benefit of maintaining your body and being healthy in your exercise and diet, it clears your mind like you would not believe. When I've worked with people who have lost a lot of weight, one of the things that surprises them is that their personality changes. They become less lazy. They don't sleep in as much. They're more clear-headed. They don't realize that when you gain a lot of weight, it actually causes a part of your brain called the hippocampus to shrink. So when you get fat, you literally get dumber. And when you lose that weight, that hippocampus starts to regain its normal size and even grow. So your brain is very, very flexible. And when you live a healthy life, your brain, which is your primary tool for doing everything in life, becomes healthier. And you become smarter, and you can see the world more clearly, and you can actually behave in that world with more action, more energy, more enthusiasm, more excitement about the things that are happening. So number 1, create some practices that help you become healthier and stronger. The second thing is whatever your desires are in the life that you want, create practices that support that specifically. So if, like for me, I wanted to become a health coach and a personal trainer, that meant I needed to get some education. I needed to pass some tests. I needed to get certified in all these things. So I had to read a bunch of books. You know, I had to make it my, my obsession for about a year until I really, really felt strongly that I could do it, that I had information that was valuable to other people, that I felt was legitimate and I could offer other people. So find out what it is you want to do and put the pieces in place through the practices so that this outcome that you're looking for will become more likely. Focus in on the process. Even though the outcome is something that we're hoping for, you know, an experience that we want, enjoy the experience of getting there. These practices should be something that you actually can enjoy the process of. Because if you're not enjoying the process of whatever it is you're doing, the outcomes are meaningless. So like, for example, if you're doing a job specifically so you can earn more money, you're probably going to suck at that job. But if you're doing a job because you really love it and you want to make more money, because you love the job, you will become more successful and you'll make more money. But if you're doing something that you hate because it pays well, you're probably not going to be very happy in the end, and you're probably not going to make the money either. So find something that you can really enjoy doing and you enjoy the process of doing it. Everything about it just brings you a sense of fulfillment and happiness and, you know, just a sense of accomplishment in your life. It makes all the difference in the world. It really does. All right, so number 4, start creating practices that support the life that you want to live in this life 2.0. And step 5 kind of brings us back to full circle. You've got to stay present. You got to be in this moment. You've got to appreciate what you have in this moment of each day. And you've got to be aware that these things are happening and appreciate them as they're happening. You cannot allow yourself to go back to life 1.0. Once you have started down the path of life 2.0, you've got to see it as a whole new life. And what happened before is gone, it's done. You've got to be done with it. If you allow yourself to slip back into reminiscing, or worse yet, holding grudges, or obsessing over things that have happened in the past, you're going to draw yourself back into it. You're going to sabotage yourself. You're not going to be successful in your next life, in this life 2.0. You're going to sabotage yourself. So you've got to stay present. Do not open up that chapter from the past life. Do not allow yourself to go down that path. There will be time for that in the future. Once it's completely behind you and the emotions of it are dead and gone, you can go back over it again, maybe looking through a scrapbook or whatever, and it will be a pleasant experience. When you can go back and look at it as a pleasant experience, as something that helped you grow to become the person that you are now, when you can do that, then it's no longer got any power over you. Then you're free of it. But as long as you go back on your thoughts and it triggers those negative emotions, it still has power over you. And you've got to get to that place where it's no longer influencing your thoughts, your behaviors, your beliefs, whatever it was. You've got to just allow it to pass. And once it becomes a pleasant memory, then you'll know you're free of it. And I know there's a lot of really difficult things that happen to you. I know that a lot of guys got really dicked over by their wives. I know that people have been betrayed by their friends, by their coworkers. And you may think, I'll never feel that way. But you know something? If that becomes the seed that grows into the massive tree that becomes your life, then that seed will be something that you appreciate one day. But so long as you are living in that pain all the time, that seed will never grow into what you want it to be. So number 5 is you've got to stay present. You've got to release the grudges. Do not allow yourself to slip back into life 1.0. I certainly hope this has been a meaningful video, that you can find it useful as you're trying to move forward in your life and really embrace all the great things that can come with this stage in life. You know, when you have sort of moved beyond that initial series of potential errors that you made when you were younger, and now you're moving on to this wiser, more thoughtful, more engaged, more authentic stage in life, this life 2.0 really is so much better than life 1.0. Yeah, you may not be as young as you were, but oh my God, the wisdom definitely makes up for the youth, I'm telling you. Because the youth, although it has some good spots, I mean, there's some good things about being young, there's a lot of learning that goes with it, and that learning inevitably comes with some discomfort and pain. But now the doors are open, you know, the world is yours. So embrace it, make it what you want it to be. And yeah, it's here for the taking, it really is. And I can't even begin to tell you, I never would have thought that I would feel so good after going through those rough 3 years. And even with my mom and her Alzheimer's disease, and yeah, it's a tough thing, and I hate to see her suffer, but you know, the way it has brought our family together to support her and my kids and my nieces and my sister and her family, you know, we're all there for her and she appreciates it. And it is an environment of real, authentic love and support. And just being in that energy is invaluable. It's hard to even explain. So in a way, this Alzheimer's disease has been a gift to us that we never would have expected. So you just never know where you're gonna find it. You just have to keep your eyes open and you gotta look for it. Because if you look for the shit, you'll find it. It's there to be found. But if you look for the gold, if you look for the beauty in any situation, you'll find that too. All right, that's all I got for you. I hope this has been an interesting, fun video. Please tell me what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. So remember, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.